WAKR, and it's time to go to film school. Let's bring in our real good friend, Joe Fortunato, film study professor. He takes time out of his busy week to join us Friday mornings here on 93.5, 1590 WAKR. And we're going to go back to 1990 here. And this was one of my favorite films for a long time. Haven't seen it in quite some time, but it is just terrific. I'll let Joe take the story from there. Good morning, Joe. Take it.
Good morning, Ray. Good morning, everybody. And yes, this is a pretty big one this morning, I think. Very popular, often requested. It's Goodfellas from 1990, released in September of 1990. Directed by the great Martin Scorsese, written by Nicholas Pileggi as well as Martin Scorsese, based on the book called Wise Guy by Pileggi, which was based on the life of mobster Henry Hill. It stars Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, Lorraine Bracco, Paul Sorvino. The film was nominated for 6 Oscars, including Best Picture, which it did not win. It lost to Dances with Wolves that year. But it did win a supporting actor for Joe Pesci. The American Film Institute ranks this as the 92nd greatest U.S. movie of all time. But Empire Magazine thinks a lot better of it. It votes at number 6 on their greatest movies of all time. So way up there. Siskel and Ebert called this their favorite movie of 1990. In fact, Roger Ebert called this the best mob movie ever. And, do you know what makes number 2 then on his list? Is our friend The Godfather.
Yeah.
Anyway, some great lines from this movie. The opening line, as far back as I could remember, I've always wanted to be a gangster. That was voted number 20 on the 100 Great Movie Lines. And the famous line, how am I funny, was voted number 87 on the same list. Ray Liotta has said in a documentary special that the first person narration of the film that he does was often done by actually talking to another person in the room, because he felt it made it more authentic and it made it easier for him to tell a story, which is what he's doing with that narration. Originally, Scorsese got wind of Nicholas Pileggi's book when it was handed to him in galley proofs. That's way before things get published. And Scorsese had sort of sworn off making another gangster movie because he'd done several of them. But he immediately called Pileggi and told him, "I've been waiting for this book my entire life." And Pileggi replied, "Well, I've been waiting for this phone call my entire life." So the two got together to put the film together.
When you talk about Goodfellas, there's so many cameos in this thing too. I think Jerry Vale is there, Bobby Vinton's in there. We can go on and on, but I love the way they move the characters in and out. Some of them not there long, but they're instrumental characters, Joe.
Yeah, it really is a dance of camera work and cameos, as you said. And a lot of people think that, this should have won Best Picture. A little hard to argue Dances with Wolves, another great film. But a lot of people think this is actually Scorsese's best picture that he actually did himself. And, talking about some of the cast, Robert De Niro is very famously a method actor. He really digs into the character. So much so, get this, he wanted to use real money for the scene where his character Jimmy hands out money because he didn't like the way fake money felt in his hands. The prop master gave De Niro $5,000 of his own money. At the end of each take, no one was allowed to leave the set until all the money was returned and counted. It gets even stranger. Henry Hill claimed that De Niro would phone him 7 or 8 times a day to discuss things about Jimmy's character, such as how he would hold a cigarette. Huh. And if you think that's a little bit obsessive, De Niro was so obsessed with authenticity that during the infamous dinner scene, he would ask how the real Jimmy would apply his ketchup, which is that's how seriously he took his acting.
I love that.
We talked about the line, "How am I funny?" Very famous scene. This was actually based on something that happened to Joe Pesci. He was working in a restaurant, this young boy or young man, and he apparently told a mobster that he thought he was funny, a compliment that was met less than enthusiastically by that mobster. And Pesci relayed this anecdote to Scorsese and they decided to put it in the film. In fact, they didn't include it in the shooting script so that Pesci and Liotta's interaction would elicit genuine surprise from the supporting cast around him. And so that was sort of a surprise for them. Ended up being one of the more memorable scenes, not only in that film, but in really movie history. The film, Joe Pesci's mother saw the film, and she told him, "Hey, the movie was good, but why do you have to curse so much?" was her criticism to her son. And in fact, it is pretty dirty in terms of language. The grand F word or its derivatives are used 321 times, which is an average of 2 per minute. And Pesci says probably about half of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that stood out to me. Of course, going back 30 years ago was the profanity in the movie. But, Joe, I guess they went for authenticity, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's, certainly the way that those gangsters and those characters would talk. Another sort of famous scene is the what we call a oneer in Hollywood. And I think more people are aware of what that means. It's basically a long, uninterrupted shot with no cuts. And that long tracking shot through the Copacabana is a very famous scene. And that was more out of necessity than art, because they couldn't get permission to go in the short way to the Copacabana. So they were forced to go around the back. And Scorsese decided to just do it all in one unbroken shot to symbolize that sort of Henry's life was way ahead of him. But it wasn't a planned thing. It was a matter of necessity. We always like to have some fun with casting. There was a lot of people that were considered for this film. Some of the folks that were considered, Val Kilmer was so eager to play the role of Henry Hill, he actually made an audition tape. He didn't get the role, of course. Tom Cruise, Nicolas Cage, Sean Penn, Alec Baldwin, and Travolta were all considered for the role of Henry Hill. Ellen Barkin was considered for the role of Karen that went to Lorraine Bracco. And Al Pacino was considered for the role of Jimmy that De Niro played. He turned it down because he feared typecasting. That same year, however, Pacino ended up playing kind of an even more stereotyped gangster, Big Boy Caprice, and Dick Tracy, which is kind of mostly forgotten now. He admits he regrets that decision, and it was a kind of a bad decision on his part.
No doubt about that. Bad move by Al. Again, the movie this week, it is Goodfellas. Joe Fortunato taking us to film school. Now, next Saturday, it is film school on the road in Gillies. And Joe is going to do the original Superman movie. Slight change here, and I appreciate Gene Destro stepping in. My daughter was invited to participate in a big cross-country meet in Kentucky. So as the dad, I'm not going to miss that. And Gene graciously said, "Hey, I work with Joe a lot of times on Fridays when you're not in, so she's going to step in and do some MC." But it's mostly Joe's show doing the film school with the Superman movie there at Gillies. Should be a lot of fun next Saturday, Joe.
Yeah, we are looking forward to it. And yes, thank you, Gene, for jumping in. We're going to have a good time. And that is next Saturday, a week from tomorrow. Get your tickets now. Go to joefortunato.net, my website, and go to the events page. There's a link to the tickets. You can go to Gillies Music Room's website, or you can search Facebook for Fortunato Film School Live. Any way you slice it, you want to get your tickets now because they are going fast. And, there's usually room for people to walk in, but I don't know. We might sell this one out. So we definitely want to if you want to go, get your tickets now. And then, of course, don't be shy about coming in as a walk-in if your plans change. But this will be next Saturday, September 20th. Doors open at 11 a.m. The film starts at 11:30 a.m. And if you don't know, Gillies serves a fabulous brunch. So you can come and watch a great movie, learn something by my commentary, and enjoy a really great brunch, seeing one of the all-time classics and one of my favorite films. And again, go to joefortunato.net. And while I'm talking about that, I'll also hint, we're mostly talking about Superman next week, but I have a couple of things coming up that I'm not going to talk about for another week or so, but they are on my events page. So if you're curious about those, you can check them out at joefortunato.net.
And Joe's exactly right. The last two that we've done, Jaws and I believe Die Hard, we've packed them in there. So when Joe says get your tickets early, you might be able to walk in and get a seat, but a lot of people are reserving their seats. So go to the websites and get those tickets. And if you haven't seen Joe on the road do a film school, you're really missing something. And I'm not just saying because he's a good friend of mine and he does it on this show and everything, but it is fabulous. And I always brag about it every time I leave one of his film schools. It's fabulous to watch how he looks at the movie, the behind the scenes stories. It's really well done. So take advantage of that coming up next Saturday. Joe, we'll talk next Friday morning, my friend. Thanks for the time. Always appreciate it.
All right. Look forward to it. See you then.
All right. Joe Fortunato, again, film study professor. He joins us Friday mornings for Film School here on WAKR.